I will try to be brief, although I have a nickname of Chief Longwind. So, good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. TriMet has been claiming the needs to cut costs. TriMet General Manager Neil McFarland said that the reason of the unlawful implementation of the changes to the insurance was out of financial necessity. But where and how to save TriMet's money appears to be selective. Currently, the union and TriMet have 91 grievances pending arbitration. 11 are termination grievances. In addition, the parties have over 200 grievances pending through the contractual process. The parties have, until recently, resolved pending arbitrations cases through a mutually agreed upon mediation/arbitration process. A mutually selected neutral third party would hear a grievance, giving both TriMet and the union the opportunity to provide evidence and testimony in support of their respective positions. The neutral would then mediate the dispute, encouraging the parties to reach a resolution. If the parties were unable to reach a mutual acceptable resolution, then the neutral would act as the arbitrator and issue a settlement decision that would be binding by both the union and TriMet. Since the parties have engaged in this process, approximately 43 grievances have been resolved through the mediation arbitration component. Of that, a number 18 were resolved through mediation settlement, which means both sides mutually agreed to that settlement. The neutral rendered binding decisions in 25 of the grievance cases, which included 5 terminations. Of these, 25 cases where a binding decision was rendered, 21 of them were decided in favor of TriMet, and 4 were decided in favor of the union. The cost to TriMet for these grievances resolutions represents approximately $300 per grievance for the neutral mediator/arbitrator after splitting the cost with the union. TriMet managers presented the grievances for the employer, and such their salaries were already budgeted for their regular work time. But in a letter to the union dated January 18, 2011, Shelley Lomax, TriMet Executive Director of Operations, wrote, and you have a copy of it with you, "As far as the grievances listed in the letter, we believe those are appropriate to proceed to arbitration rather than mediation. Apparently, TriMet has decided it is more economical to resolve the current 91 grievances pending arbitration through a full-blown arbitration process. This makes no sense for the agency to cry poverty. The cost for TriMet to pursue one grievance through a traditional arbitration process cost the public roughly $22,000 per case. These costs are more on the low end. It only represents TriMet's court reporter and attorney fees and arbitrator fees. So with the 91 cases pending arbitration that now TriMet does not want to mediate, the potential cost to taxpayers to resolve these grievances through traditional arbitration process is somewhere around $2,002,000. This amount is for representing the case only and does not include the monetary award that TriMet may be required to pay as a result of the adverse decision. Also, this amount does not include the 200+ grievances that are currently making their way through the grievance procedure, of which many will likely end up in the arbitration. Even if TriMet wanted to discontinue using the mediation arbitration process, mutually agreed by both parties, they could still save the taxpayers money by using expedited arbitration process provided in the collective bargaining agreement between TriMet and the union. I've heard today many stories, which it may surprise you that I didn't contact anybody for those to come about. And it's interesting, I just came from a awards event in Rogue Valley Transit District. and we just settled a contract here several months ago, had the same problems associated here. High cost for insurance. It's everywhere. There's no secret. And apparently there's some misconception that the union is unwilling to negotiate fairly, is unwilling to create compromises in order to get there. The last position the union took is a status quo going to the arbitrator. So for those of you who don't know, 14 days prior to that, we would put in our last best final. The arbitrator will make a final binding decision. It's not a split the baby, it's a one deal. So that means we must be reasonable if we're in order for them to decide with us. But unfortunately, that communication has not taken place. I would encourage Neil McFarland to call Julie Brown, of the general manager of Rogue Valley Transit District. Because that woman came forward and she had the same aggressive approach to begin with. And I looked her in the eyes and I said, you're balancing the budget on our members' backs, and we're going to continue to fight this issue, and I'll be back here every month, and I am not going away until we can resolve this issue. She came back and said, you know what, John, I'm offended that you said that. And I said, well, you know what? Here's a great opportunity to show me what you truly believe, and let's get this thing settled. And I can tell you, with hard work from both of us, remember, this is the same insurance increases that have went on everywhere, through creative opportunities that, by the way, I've done for 23 other collective bargaining agreements. Unlike your current general manager and the negotiating team, I negotiate all the time. I'm doing it all the time. So I'm familiar with those opportunities to create VIVA spending accounts that Vice President Sam Schwartz talked about earlier. Creating co-insurance, creating an opportunity. Did anybody have the opportunity to see the news recently that stated, and I don't remember the actual quote, but that people who are on public transit are far greater to get sick because of the congestion, because of all the stuff out there. All these statistics are out now saying, hey, you know what? If you ride public transportation, chances are you're going to get sick. What do you think happens to our operators? In our industry, there's two things that are going on. One, it's extremely critical that we're working. If we're not there, that bus isn't going out. That train isn't going. We need to have somebody. There's a cost associated when we're not there. By putting the insurance into an area where some people are making the decision whether I go or not go, we're creating more and more problems. We're not solving them. We are putting these blocks up, and these walls are getting to the point where they're never going to be brought down again. And from what I've heard from where we're at publicly, we all need to be working together. My senior brother in the back there that talked about our family working together is, I'm a second generation. And I tell people in my union family, it's kind of like the one I came from. It's a dysfunctional one. Most of us came from one, if we're true. And that is we don't communicate well. We currently, to this day, do not have a labor relations director. We don't have anybody that says, you know what, I'm going to take the hit for not calling back the union member, for not having good conversations with the union. Because what you'll find is, I have never said I would not meet with somebody. I have never created the opportunity that this is the only way and this is not going to happen. What we have is an attorney's opinion over a bill that we put forward, I might add, that we put forward, that said, you know what, we believe transportation is as vital as police, as paramedics, for this industry. And we put forward that we will not withhold service in order to maintain community support and allow a third party to make that decision. But TriMet took the position from a law firm that language that says they may pass on increased cost through this process. They failed to read the second paragraph, which says unless your collective bargaining agreement speaks otherwise. And I'm here to tell you, it has spoke that way for the last 40 years. Amen. So here's my challenge today. And I hope you all, either from here on out, if we can't get this settled, add an extra hour to the time, because we're not going anywhere. And I appreciate all of your time, and I respect your positions outside of this, and I understand that you may have to go and do other things. But I'm telling you that our voice will be heard. We will continue to come back. We will continue to get these things done. What I am proposing, and by the way, this isn't the first time it's been proposed. One, I challenge some of you to join us in that negotiations. Amen. So you can hear what I'm saying and hearing, and maybe you're not getting the right scoop. 2 unfair labor practices are filed. Sam mentioned it was April. It's May now. May, close to 4 months from now, before our first hearing to discuss this issue. Then there's a second one. The first one is because TriMet, under the binding arbitration, took their proposal to the arbitrator, and it contained information they didn't bargain with us.
Right on.
The second one is the illegal implementation of the health insurance. Both of those go away if we get back to the table. You guys need to direct Mr. McFarland. Rescind the illegal implementation. Let's think about that. It's happening.
John.
I'm on a roll.
Oh, I know you're on a roll.
I got 2 minutes. Let me finish my
all right. This is the last presenter. I want to tell, because these are ATU issues. The other 2 presenters are ATU issues. You just ceded your time to Mr. Hunt.
Thank you. I think they were happy to do that.